Hey there, guys. Hey there. Just finishing getting a couple things set up here. Hope y'all don't mind this fancy song that I'm playing. Gotta pull up chat on my phone because my second monitor broke. Just wasn't working. You can't hear the song? Did I turn it down too much? It's supposed to be kind of subtle. Alrighty then. Nice, we should be good to go. Hello Vindicator, hello Apple Red GT. Okay, I don't want to have my music volume too loud, so I'm going to turn it down a bit. Should be good to go now. Okay, so for anyone who isn't aware of exactly what's going on, we are currently recreating Skyblock, Hypixel Skyblock, within housing, at least to whatever extent is possible within its limitations. So to give a brief recap of what we did last time, we made coins, levels, experience. We have health, which is kind of hard to see right here, but you can see that is at the bottom of my screen. Health, defense, mana regen, everything like that. We've got a bank system. Can talk to this guy to deposit, say, 12 into the bank. And you should be able to see that the bank updates to have 12. So there we go. So we got a pretty good system going here. You finally got a mic. Congratulations, man. And congratulations on getting part 20 of your series. Alright. Last time we also got the not-so-magic wand that does nothing, but does consume mana successfully. We've got this chest plate that we can wear to boost our defense and health, even though both of those stats don't really do much except for reduce the amount of fall damage that you... or increase the amount of fall damage that you're able to take. We've got all these buttons and everything. But right now, we need to focus on the new system, which is the mining system. Probably one of the most difficult parts of this entire thing, aside from possibly combat. Because the mining system involves the ability to break blocks, and figure out a way to make that work here is going to be quite the challenge. So first off, every time that we're going to be testing breaking these blocks, we're going to have to switch to social mode and make sure that we're in game mode survival. So it'll be a bit of a bother, but we'll manage. Okay, so the first thing that we want to do is we want to be able to detect when the player is breaking a block. Honestly, that shouldn't be too difficult. Let's get a block that's relatively easy to break, but that we won't be using too much of. Let's get a melon. Start testing with a melon here. That'll probably work just fine. Okay, conveniently, there's event actions. So when we're starting with our mining system, we're going to want to start with the player block break event. If you remember, except for in the Crystal Hollows, when you break a block, it just reappears pretty much immediately. And although we'd want to make it replace with Bedrock, just to kind of follow the same pattern of Hypixel, unfortunately it just doesn't exist. It's not something that you can really do here. At least not right now. So let's see. We need to find the cancel action or cancel event. So when the player attempts to break a block, let's see, cancel event. Where is that? Let's see, you got Chanted Diamond Equipment. Nice. Upgraded a village. Got some torches and a wall. Well done. Okay, let's see. Cancel event. Where is that? Okay, it's missing. What is going on here? Yeah, you can see that it's supposed to be a TNT thing there that allows you to cancel the event. Oh, that's player enter portal. Player block break. See, is there no place to cancel the event? Tell me, surely. Where is that? Bro, okay, hold on. I've built this exact system in a different housing plot. Maybe I'd just have it disabled in the settings for people to be able to break blocks. I might just have the wrong settings. Good luck on beating the Wither, man. Okay, so it should be in house settings. This is screenshots. There's in the screenshots channel on my Discord server. Can you post a picture of your game? Yeah. As long as the screenshot is appropriate for all audiences, then you can go ahead and post it in there. Okay. Hold on. Time for some troubleshooting. Let's go to the lobby and see if I can check in on the mining system that I made previously. Although that previous one was a little bit buggy. It did have... Oh wait, this is the wrong one. My bad. It did basically work. Okay, so this is the old version of the same idea that I made. It's got some pretty cool builds and things, but because I did the builds first, then trying to retroactively add a bunch of the technical stuff kind of went a bit wrong. But it was pretty cool. Let's see. So if I go back to here, event actions, block break. Okay, so I think I know what's going on here. Oh, you gotta go? Alright. I'll see you later, Vindicator. Thanks for showing up. I think I know what's going on. I might have just had a brain skip. Sometimes live streams are a little janky. Don't mind me. Okay, so event actions, when the player breaks a block, let's just send a chat message and we can test this to make sure everything's working. Gotta do the classic hello world. If you're a programmer, you know why that's significant. So now if I'm in game mode survival and I attempt to break this block, it says hello world. So it won't allow me to actually break the block. It'll automatically cancel the event. That's why there's no special thing that says cancel event, because it just automatically does that anyway. I wish it was something that's a normal event, but as you can see, I can break the block. It detects that I'm breaking the block. So there are a few things that we can do on top of that, because right now it'll also detect if I break this sand. So right now I've got something that's compressing it. That's why you can see the little thing with the 12 right there. So now I need to go into here and I should probably go back to edit mode so that it'll actually let me make these changes. So when the player breaks a block, instead of just sending the chat message immediately, let's do a conditional. And we'll say if that block that we're trying to break, just block type right here. There's a couple of other things, but the block type is the special one that we need. If the block type is... Gotta grab a melon to give it as an example. Okay, if it's a melon, we don't need any special data values from the block, just the melon. And then we'll say if it is a melon, then we'll say melon with an exclamation mark. And if it's not a melon, we'll say no melon, sad face. There we go. So now if I go back into social mode, I break the sand. Doesn't seem to do anything. Oh, it's because I'm not in survival mode, apparently. There you go. I break this. It says no melon. But if I break this melon, then it says melon. Okay, so you can see that now it can detect what type of block I'm breaking. So if I want to do something special when somebody breaks a diamond ore block, for example, like give them a diamond, now I'm able to do that. Now the thing is, you don't want people breaking diamond ore using their fist and still being able to get a diamond. So there are a couple things you can do. You can go through the process of creating your own tool system and have it check against all the different types of tools and see if you're using the right one and go through all that mess. Or you could just base it on the different tiers of tools. Instead of going through all that, you can just say, oh, well, is it a diamond pickaxe? Is it a golden one? Is it a stone one? Wooden one? Iron? But the problem is, if we're trying to recreate Skyblock, considering that mining is one of the few things that we actually can do to a reasonable extent, then we should probably go with that little bit more advanced tool system. Although it'll probably be a pain to make. I'm going to tell you right now, this is probably going to be one of the most complicated parts of everything we've built so far. More complicated than the number pad, more complicated than this equipment stuff. But we'll make it work. Melon indeed, though. That's for sure. Okay. So one thing that we're going to want to do is I'm going to create a new score. And I'm going to call it breaking power. So you know how Hypixel Skyblock has breaking power by default? We need to make that stat as well. Kind of like how we did with the defense and health and everything. If you're not subbed to this video, thanks for the support, Star. So I'm going to take this wooden pickaxe and we'll do /item and we'll rename this to melon. We'll rename it to melon. So this will be melon. Got to go to your grandma's house. All right. See you later. Thank you for showing up. I appreciate it. And then for this diamond pickaxe, we will call it blueberry. Because I'm feeling a little fruity today, I guess. I don't know. Got melon and blueberry. Melon is going to be the weak pickaxe. The pickaxe that isn't going to actually work for breaking the block. And then blueberry is going to be the one that successfully breaks things. Or should I do it the other way around? Which should be more powerful pickaxe? Melon or blueberry? I don't know. Face reveal? Imagine. Fun fact, a little bit off the record here. I already did a face reveal a long time ago, but I successfully took all the images of it down. And so nobody knows what my face looks like anymore. Yeah, we got blueberry and melon right there. Pretty decent pickaxes. We'll go ahead and say... breaking power. We'll just say this has 5. And then for this one, we'll pretty much do the same thing, except we'll say the breaking power is 1. Now, of course, those specific things, we're not going to be able to keep track of those. So instead, we're going to make that a function. So kind of like how we have the... let's see, where is it? Calculate stats, where we calculate the data for armor pieces that people are wearing. We want to do the same sort of thing for getting the breaking power of the tool that they're holding. We'll do this calc breaking power. Or just calc breaking will probably be enough. So we'll want to check match any condition. So that way we can do multiple tools with just one conditional for different breaking powers. And we'll say if has item, specifically the melon right here. We'll start with this melon. If they have specifically melon and they're holding it in their main hand, then that's one of the conditions matched. You leaked your IP, but your friend saw it. Good catch. Good catch. Okay, and if they are holding that item, then we want to change their player stat, breaking power, and we'll just set that to 1. And just so that we make sure that there's a default, so that we don't accidentally have people keeping breaking power even when they're not holding the item anymore. Just want to say breaking power is 0 by default, and we'll just shift that over to go before the condition. So basically, it'll set it to 0, and then if they're holding the melon pickaxe, the breaking power will now be 1. And of course, we can do more conditionals for breaking power 2, for example. Breaking power 3. 4. 5. And you can reuse this function for if you have like a special type of breaking power for, say, wood, for example. If you want to use a different system for wood, which you probably should do in this case, then you won't have to use as many conditionals. You just have to use different ones and change a different value other than breaking power. So since our pickaxe here, blueberry, has a breaking power of 5, we want to go into here, has item, blueberry, and we will check in their hand. And if they have it, then we will set their breaking power, set 5. Roman, it's been a while. Hello, hello. Okay, so there we go. We've got our breaking power set to 5. And now when I'm holding these different tools, you can't see anything because I don't have anything displaying it right now. But if we go to the tab list, I can go ahead and fix that. Stats.player/breaking power. There we go. Okay. So right now the function is not running at all, which is why you're not seeing any change. So what we need to do here is we need to go to event action. When player changes held item, then we want to calculate their breaking power. There we go. 1, 5. I've apparently got it reversed. Okay, I'm confused about what's going on here. But I'll fix that in just a minute. For anyone who doesn't know what's going on here, I mean, it's in the title. We're recreating Hypixel Skyblock within Hypixel's housing system. Yeah, you should be able to see that when I change my held item, it changes the breaking power. If we want to kind of just make sure that it is running properly and that it's got the right thing most of the time, we can set this to automatically execute. How have I been? I've been great. Thank you for asking. Okay, there we go. We can see that the breaking power is updating correctly. Nice. If you want to talk, the Discord be a great place to chat. That way it's not while I'm working on something technical. I have a hard time keeping a conversation and using my brain power at the same time. Let's see, so it's calculating the breaking power. Player block break. Okay. So right now we're checking if the block that the player broke was a melon. So if I pull out this melon again, it's not going to say anything because I'm in build mode. But right now it doesn't care what tool I'm using. It doesn't care if I'm using melon or if I'm using blueberry. So if I want to make sure that it requires me to use melon or if it requires me to use blueberry, then, or if I just want it to require a certain breaking power, then I can say, in addition to checking if it's this specific block, then I check if the player has breaking power that is greater than or equal to 2. Because if they don't have enough breaking power, then they can't break that block. Alright, so now let's go ahead and test this system that we've got so far. So I shouldn't be able to break the block while I'm holding melon, but I should be able to hold it while I'm holding... should be able to break it while I'm holding blueberry, I should say. Oh, I've lost my pickaxes. Hold on. Okay, we're gonna have to put them in here so that I can actually keep the pickaxes. There we go. Okay, so if I try to break it using my fist, it says no melon because this is not a valid block to... It's not... My hand is not a valid tool to break this melon with. If I try to use this wooden pickaxe, it's still not a valid tool to break this with. Apparently there's durability. I'll have to fix that. Whoops. But if I break it with this diamond pickaxe, then it says melon because I had the correct amount of breaking power. So you guys can already see where this is going from here, I hope. I just lost both the pickaxes. Make sure to create backups. You're gone forever? Okay. That's fine, I guess. But you guys can get the idea there. So basically you can set different tools to give different amounts of breaking power, and that'll allow you to break different types of blocks. And of course, the only problem is that means that you'll have to create a conditional for each unique type of block. But that's mostly for each unique type of block that you want to be able to drop a different item. So if I want coal ore, iron ore, lapis ore, gold ore, emerald, redstone, diamond, each one of these will require its own conditional that checks, well, did you break a diamond ore instead of just literally any block? And then you also need to check, oh, are they holding a tool that's powerful enough to break this diamond ore? Are they holding an iron pickaxe, for example? Otherwise, you start running into problems. So there is one problem I want to point out with redstone ore specifically. You can see how redstone ore kind of has the version that's not lit up, and then when you step on it, there's the version that's lit up. So that's a technical problem with the redstone. It'll light up when you hit it, and unfortunately, there's no way to actually check the conditionals for redstone ore. So as a technical limit for Hypixel Skyblock, because redstone ore lights up when you hit it, it's technically a different block, according to the backend systems, when it's lit up. And you can't actually check for lit up redstone as compared to non-lit up redstone. And since it lights up when you hit it, then it's just always lit up when you break it. So redstone is impossible to use, unfortunately. So as far as ores go, this is what we have to work with. Now, of course, we can expand these things a little bit more. One thing that I like to do is I'd like to create a more rich version of each ore. So you can have like a dense version of each ore that has a lot more of that ore block in it. And that's a really good way to kind of increase the depth of your ores to make them feel a little bit more complete. Another thing you can do is you can do like Hypixel Skyblock did and use stained glass, and that works just as well. So if you want to use stained glass or anything like that, or if you want to use, you might be able to get player heads to work. Like with these skull packs, you might be able to get those to work, but I'd just stick with whole blocks if I were you. I'm not sure if it's worth the effort. So these are some tremendous options to use. Unfortunately, you can't really control the player's mining speed very well, except for by giving them mining fatigue or haste. And that's not going to be something that you can do in a way that'll feel good to any of the players very well. So if you want a block that's worth a lot, just use obsidian or some other ore that's hard to mine, and maybe say if a diamond pickaxe has a breaking power of 5, right? It actually mines obsidian faster than all the other pickaxes. But since you're doing a custom thing, you can say a special wooden pickaxe has a breaking power of 6, and that's the only thing that's able to break this special version of obsidian. So in that way you could make obsidian an extremely valuable ore, for example, by making it take so long to mine. Of course, doing that sort of thing can be a little bit tedious for the players, so just make sure you're mindful of those sorts of things. You could always have special regions where one area of the mine gives you mining fatigue or something if you want the player to mine a bit slower in those areas of the mines to make things more valuable. Because the biggest problem that you're going to run into is the fact that we can't do like Hypixel Skyblock does and replace these things with the bedrock. So somebody needs to just find one single ore block, and they can just mine that ore block infinitely. So it's literally the most mindless mining thing that you could ever do. I'm not quite sure how to improve that system yet, but we can look into that together. So we've already got a way to distinguish the different types of ores and to figure out how they can give you an item. And of course, like we did with the melon there, it just sends a message, but we can just as easily change that to give you an item, even a random item from a loot pool. So if you want to have some super rare drops from different kinds of ore blocks, then you can do that. So let's do a little bit of investigation. I haven't actually delved that deep into this. So for block break, let's see what things we have to work with. So we have conditionals. Doesn't seem like there are any special... Doesn't seem like there are any special things that are only accessible in this. So let's go back. Inside of conditionals, we know that we have the block type conditional, which is a special one that we don't normally have. Okay, so there doesn't seem to be anything special as far as these block types go. So there's not really a way to kind of force the player to move around, which is kind of what adds a little bit more depth to the mining areas, where you kind of have to move around a bit to find the different ore veins. Right, in normal Skyblock, that's how there's a little bit more depth to mining. But you could also do kind of like Skyblock did with the mine shafts. So you could make it so there's a very rare chance when people are breaking certain types of blocks that they will be able to access a secret ruin that gives them access to even more secrets and things that they can find. So you can do all sorts of amazing things with this block breaking system. Just the main important things are that you have this breaking power thing. You can say, oh, do they have this specific item that gives them 1 breaking power? And you can change their stat to be 1. And you can just add as many items as you want to that conditional. Just make sure you turn on match any condition. And then when you want to add custom blocks that they can break, then you just say, well, did they try to break a melon, for example? And if they did they have the breaking power that's needed? And if they did, then you can give them their loot drops, run whatever custom things you want. Whether that's giving them special items, giving them a stat boost of some kind, giving them coins, giving them experience, everything about that you can put inside of that area for each block. So honestly, I didn't do it this most simple way last time when I tried to make this block breaking system. So I can already tell that this recreation is going to end up a lot better than the previous one that I did off stream. Okay, so we've got a block breaking system basically built. We can add as many blocks to it as we want. We'll have to debug it a bit later, but I don't want to bog you guys down too much with that. But one thing I want to say, this block breaking system right here is fairly robust. After we've debugged it, it should work for pretty much every single skill that we want to recreate in Skyblock. So that includes farming, that includes mining, that includes foraging. There are a few things that it doesn't include, and that is fishing and combat. And of course, for technical reasons, enchanting is not possible. Alchemy might be, but I'm not sure how useful it'll end up being. There are a lot of unfortunate limitations just with the way that Hypixel works. But we will do our best to work around those. Alright. Let's actually get some things going with the fishing skill. I guess we've already basically finished the mining skill. Of course, there's a lot of refining that we need to do still. To make sure everything's all nice and polished and ready. But I'm going to quickly head over, change the title of the stream for us. And we can get started on working on the fishing system. Because fishing is something that you can actually recreate inside of housing as well. So let's go to the live control room real quick. There we go. All right. Fishing it is. Let's go. Onward. Okay, so conveniently, there is one of the event actions. Player damage, player enter portal, block break. But there's also pick up item for one, but also fish caught. So when a player catches a fish, see what conditionals we have to work with. We have fishing environment. Okay. So if the player is fishing in water or lava, so they allow lava fishing as well. That's even better. So if the player is fishing in water, then you can have different things that can come out of the fishing as compared to if they're fishing in lava. Okay, let's see. Conditional cancel event. So we want to do this to prevent the player from getting like the vanilla Minecraft fishing loot. So we can give our own custom fishing loot. So when the player fishes, first thing we'll want to do is we'll do a conditional and we'll check their fishing environment. And if they are fishing in water, then we'll do the first loot pool. And that'll be here. So this is if they're fishing in water. We want to... Let's see. Trying to remember where it is. Give item. Okay, so we want to create a loot pool pretty much first. Okay, so we need to create a function for a loot pool. I'm actually gonna quickly mouse over these to see if there are any loot pool systems that are already built in. You never know, because they sometimes update these things while I'm not paying attention. Okay, function it is then. Okay. We'll just call this function water, fish, loot. Nice and simple. Let's take a look at what we have to go with. Random action. Okay, so this is the thing that we need. Let's say that the first action is to give an item. Let's start with, for the sake of testing, just a fish. We'll get those 3 kinds of fish. And salmon. There we go. Can go back in here. Water fishing loot, random action. Can currently give them raw fish. Allow multiple is what we want to do. First slot just means whichever slot is empty, I'm pretty sure. Alright, so yeah, just whichever slot is empty right now. We don't want to replace any items that are currently there, because that'll be deleting items from the player's inventory. And then secondly, we want to give clownfish, allow multiple. And we'll give pufferfish, allow multiple again. And, whoops. And we'll give salmon and allow multiple. So right now, that'll just pick a random thing between those. And when we fish, we should be able to receive one of those random items. So let's go ahead and see how this goes. I haven't actually messed with the fishing events very much. So it's kind of up in the air what'll happen here. I hope you guys love fishing content. Dang, this is tense, huh? Okay, so I fished. It gave me experience, but it didn't actually drop me any of those items. So it looks like we have a little bit of troubleshooting to do. So let's see. Water fish loot. Okay, one thing that that I should have noticed a second ago was that we didn't actually add the I'm not sure why there's 2 of those in there. We didn't actually add the command for giving us those items yet. So let's quickly fix that, so that when we fish, it gives us the water fish loot. We'll go ahead and try that again. Sorry about that. Riveting. Truly riveting. Hold on, let me see what enchants I can put on this thing. Luck of the Sea 10. Might as well. Lure 10. There we go. That just immediately attracted a fish. You can see I got a salmon right there. You can see I got a clownfish. Got a regular fish. Got another regular fish. Got another regular fish. Got a pufferfish. So there we go. You can see that all of these fish dropped. But there is a problem, because all of these fish they have the same chance of dropping. Every fish has an identical chance to drop. So if you want to do something else instead, in order to, say, have some very rare items, you could just put a whole bunch of entries that drop raw fish, and then only one entry that drops pufferfish if you want pufferfish to be more rare. Or you could go through the process of making weighted randoms, which is a little bit more complicated, to be fair. But it shouldn't be all that bad. Alright, let's see. Actually, it might be a little bit of a nightmare now that I'm thinking about it. Okay, unfortunately, the random loot thing here, I don't think there's a way to change the weight of any of these random things. So one thing that you can do is you can... Never mind, you cannot. It is not an option here. I was thinking you might be able to put a random inside of a random. But there's also the problem with this system, which is that it'll only do one action. So you can only either give them an item or give them experience points or give them gold. You can't ever do more than one thing at a time. You can only give them an item or give them fishing experience, for example, which is not quite how we want things to work. So while this does work for a lot of applications for giving people items and things, I'm not sure that's quite how we want to do it. So one thing that we can do instead is try to generate a random value. I'm going to check placeholders and see if there's something that already does that for me. Let's see. Random.int. Okay, let's see. Inclusive origin, exclusive bound. So random.int, I think, is what we need. So say if we have something that has a 50% chance to drop every time, and we want one of these items to drop 50% of the time. Say if we want raw fish and raw salmon to drop 50% of the time. That means each one of these will have a 25% drop chance. And then the other half of the time, some other item will spawn. So if we want to do something like that, then we need to generate a random number between 0 and 100. And if that number is 50 or below, then we'll say that it'll drop a random fish. Or if that number is 50 or above, we'll say that it'll drop a different item. We can also do something like if it's between 50 and 75, and then that'll be a smaller chance. Or you can say if it's between 99 and 100%, then it'll only happen 1% of the time. So that's one way that we can do this. So let's go ahead and give that a shot. So if we want to go to functions, then we need to go to this, change player stat, and we'll do fishing RNG. Gotta put that in my notes as a data bit to help me keep track of things. Fishing RNG, and we need to set this to be random.int, and then I'm pretty sure it was slash, and then we do 0, 100. I hope that's correct. Looks like it is. So if I did everything correctly, that should generate a random number between 0 and 100 and set fishing RNG to it. So if we want it to have, let's see, we'll say if fishing RNG is less than or equal to 50. Or I guess 49 is what we want here. We'll just say 50 and then we'll say less than instead of less than or equal to. There we go. Then we will give the player a regular raw fish. Or I guess we'll give them 3 raw fish. I guess that's fine. We can fix it later. Otherwise, we can't add a condition inside of here. So we're going to leave that as it is for the time being. Then we'll say conditional player stat requirement is fishing RNG greater than or equal to 50, but also if it is less than 75. So that means everything in here will have a 25% chance of dropping. This is where it gets a little bit more technical, but I'm sure you guys will be able to keep up. And if that's the case, then we need to give them... We'll give them a salmon. And then we can do this one more time. And we can say player stat requirement, fishing RNG, is it greater than or equal to 75? And is it less than 95? So we'll say that there's a 5% chance to drop a pufferfish. And then, or sorry, we'll say that there's a 20% chance to drop a pufferfish and a 5% chance to drop a clownfish. Now, I don't want to be fishing all day, so I'm not sure if I'm going to test this too thoroughly. We can now put in here, give item, pufferfish, and then clownfish for the last one. We'll just say else. No, we can't say else because otherwise it'll just trigger every time. Here we go. Now we need to say, is fishing RNG greater than or equal to 90? And then we don't need to add any upper bound. Because this is the last one on the list. Then we'll just say that we'll give them a pufferfish. Allow multiple. And I should probably go back and allow multiple for these other ones as well. So let's quickly go through and do that. Okay, so now let's use my super OP fishing rod and do a couple of rounds here. And because we did it the way that we did, we'll also be able to give things like fishing experience. I got really lucky and got 2 pufferfish. I'm not sure I got 2 there. Got a salmon. Got some regular fish. Got a pufferfish again. Got another salmon. Got some more regular fish. And as you can see, I'm not having very good luck getting a tropical fish because the tropical fish only has a 5% chance of dropping. So, true to Skyblock, we have RNG that is stacked against you, and you'll have to fish for a long time in order to get that specific item that you want. But you know, such is the way of Skyblock. It wouldn't be Skyblock without ridiculous RNG that's really hard to get. Alright, so I'll do some testing off stream to make sure everything's working properly. But essentially what we've just done is we've just recreated the basic skeleton for a lot of the main skills in Skyblock. We got mining, we got farming, we have foraging, and we have fishing now. So the next part, which is where things start to get really challenging, is combat. Because if I get a spawn egg, for example, of a zombie, if I try to spawn it in, it just doesn't work. You can't actually spawn real mobs to fight in Skyblock. Or, sorry, in housing. So the only way to do combat is by using NPCs. And of course, NPCs don't run around. NPCs don't attack you. They're not that hard to avoid because, like I said, they don't move around. You just stand far enough away from them and they can't hurt you. Right? In fact, they can't hurt you anyway because that's just not how NPCs are programmed. So now is where we need to get creative. So let's go ahead and take a look at what we have to work with. We have NPCs, we have action pads, we have action buttons. There's honestly not very much that we can work with here as far as combat goes. There could potentially be player versus player combat, but as far as combat versus non-player characters, that's where things start to get a little bit more challenging. The best we can do is we can make it so that when you click on an NPC while you're holding a weapon, then it does this fake damage to the NPC. Maybe a hologram over their head. But as far as damaging you, that's where things start to get a little bit more complicated. So let's look into that, see what we have to work with as far as events go. So PvP, state change, that's not really going to do us any good. Player join, player quit isn't going to do us any good. Player death, we can worry about that later. Player kill, that's against another player, so we don't have PvP yet. Respawn is not important. Drop item is important. Just to keep people from dropping their items when they don't mean to, we're going to put that in there for now. Parkour is probably not what we're going to worry about yet. Enter portal, not very useful. Pick up item, not very useful at the moment. Change held item, we're already using that. Toggle sneak, toggle flight. None of these events are particularly useful for combat, unfortunately. So the only way that we can really generate events for combat is when the player clicks on an NPC. And of course, that means that bows are entirely ruled out. So I feel sorry for anyone who's really invested in the idea of having a Juju short bow in our Skyblock recreation. But unfortunately, it's just not possible because of technical limitations. I might be able to make my way around that by having you shoot buttons in some sort of boss fight or something. But that's about it. And as far as like triggering events and things, I don't think I can use a regular button to trigger an event. They should add that though. They should add the ability to power something with a redstone to trigger an event. Let's see. Honestly, as far as combat goes, there aren't really any good options. The best thing we can do is put a little hologram above the NPC's head that shows their health, and it'll just say that they're dead if they don't have any health left over or something. Sup with you? How's it going? And as far as you receiving damage, I'll most likely just have to have little regions around the monsters where just as long as they're alive, they'll be dealing damage to you. It's a shame that there's like not really any way to put very much more depth into the combat than this for the time being. But we can look into things a little bit more. And I might be able to compensate by figuring out a way to get PvP to work. Because I believe there's a way that I can use potion effects and things in order to create special weapons and things that'll actually work. But it'll require a little bit of testing. So you'll want to You all want me to figure it out off stream and then come back with the solution, or do you think I should just switch to a different housing and go ahead and test it live? What do y'all think? Because honestly, I feel like even without combat, this could be pretty decent. We got mining, farming, fishing, foraging. I mean, I'm sure you guys will love foraging. Test it live. All right, let's do it. Okay, I've got a housing that I don't really use all that much. This housing tech thing, because I wiped it recently. Because I was going to use it for something, but I didn't end up finishing that. As you can see, I got some swords and things. I was going to be testing some of the different swords and things. Let's go ahead and clear any functions that we've got. Oh, never mind. I already have health, mana, and defense set up here. Now, the only problem is I can't take PvP damage unless I've got another player here that can test it with me. So I might have to see if I can hit someone up to pop in this housing and join me. Hold on. Visiting rules. I'll tell you what, if one of you guys can hop on Skyblock and help me test this PvP thing, I would appreciate it, like, massively. It'll still take a lot of time to figure it out, but it'll be so worth it, I'm sure. Okay, first thing I want to do, I want to check the conditional thing here. Fall damage helper set player.max health. Right. Okay, so it's already flexible. I need to add something when a player joins. I need to change their max health to, let's just say 40. 40 is probably good. Okay. Got a lobby and then hop back in. I might be able to test it just by directly damaging myself, but that's not the most convenient way. Okay, so you can see I've got 2 rows of hearts. Now I need these 2 rows of hearts because the way that I'm going to tell the difference between the different types of swords is actually the amount of damage that they deal to the player. So say if they have a diamond sword, you can see it has 7 attack damage, 6, 4, 5, 4. Now the thing is, a diamond sword will never deal more than 7 or less than 7 unless it has sharpness, or if you have the strength or weakness effect, right? So the way that I'm going to distinguish between different diamond swords is I'm going to make it so that when you're holding, say, a regular diamond sword, it doesn't have anything special on it. However, if you're holding an aspect of the end, for example, then it will have, say, 1 level of sharpness on it, or it'll give you the strength effect while you're holding it, or the weakness effect while you're holding it. And that way, when the player takes real damage, then I can convert that real damage into damage to your Skyblock health, if that makes sense. So when the player takes real damage, then I can figure out what type of weapon they were just hit by and deal the appropriate amount of genuine damage to the player and just kind of heal the player back up again as far as their genuine, like, vanilla health goes. So that should serve as a way for us to be able to detect what different types of weapons that players were hit by. And that'll be a massive, massive difference here. So let's actually go through the different amounts of damage that we can get. So if I go into item here, I have with sharpness. Oh, one thing that I need to account for also is armor. That might be a little bit trickier to work with. Didn't think about that. Okay, so sharpness can go all the way up to sharpness 10. So if players are wearing no armor, then we can go ahead and use the regular base attack damage. Man, armor, that's one thing that I didn't think about. Yeah, that's going to make things incredibly more complicated. So as far as weapons go, if we have to deal with armor, we can't actually go off of the damage values that they received anymore. And we might not have been able to do that anyway, because say if Iron Sword was enchanted and it ended up having the same amount of damage as one of the different Diamond Swords, then they would both count as being the same weapon, because they deal the same amount of damage. Okay, so I'm gonna have to look into this. I'm gonna have to look into what options we've got here. Also, bows and arrows would still be impossible, unfortunately, because they deal a varying amount of damage. Same thing with critical hits. Man, there are so many factors that are going against me in this. Because unfortunately, like, if you look into the event actions here with the player damage, you can cancel the event, right, and everything, but that's not going to be super useful if we want to gather data from it. But in the conditional, we can do damage cause, damage amount, which is a good thing to be able to check, damage amount. But that's only if we don't have factors like armor and criticals. We can check we could check the damage cause, whether it's from being attacked by a player, I guess, because there's nothing else that can attack you here. Whether it's thorns from falling, fire ticks, fall, suffocation. Entity attack is what we'd want, but the problem is there doesn't seem to be a way that we can detect which player dealt the damage. We can see what player is receiving the damage and how well that player would block that damage. But the problem is there's not any good way to tell, well, say if you got hit with a diamond sword, how would I know that you got hit with a diamond sword instead of just like a critical with an iron sword? So let's see. I could go through a super complicated thing of making global stats that keep track of each player and what weapon they're holding. And try to reverse engineer what player you were hit by from that. That would be incredibly tedious. Let's see if there's something else we can maybe work with here. Commands, functions, inventory layouts, themes, player death. Let's see, required group. Okay, so we can't detect it based on who died, and let's see if we can detect it based on a kill. If there's a kill, nope. Can't detect it based on that either. We are really, really having some bad luck with the limitations here. So when you get a kill, or when you get killed, there's no way to figure out which player did that. And the same thing with damaging. And because of that, I'm not sure that PvP, without just using the vanilla health bar, is actually possible. It might just be impossible to do PvP with a custom system. Which really pains me to say, because I was really excited for that to work. So you can change PvP state. That's not going to detect any sort of damage thing. I mean, you might be able to create like a wizard duel system with some sort of janky turn-based combat But I'm not sure if that's worth what it would take. We'll have to see. If that's what it takes to get combat working, I will go through the effort to make a turn-based combat system. Because if there's no other way to actually create decent combat within housing, well, I don't want to leave my Skyblock recreation without any form of combat. So if I have to make some janky turn-based combat system, I will do it if I have to. But let's look into things just a little bit more. I want to give it like one last chance here. Keep inventory, it's respawn. Yeah. Yeah, it's not looking too good. Okay, let's go back to the proper house. So as far as player versus entity goes, clicking on NPCs seems to be the most logical way for things to work. Of course, NPCs wouldn't always open a menu. I could just make it so the NPC receives damage or something when you hit it. But that would be a little bit mindless. It feels like it might not be as much fun. So I'll have to see if I can create some sort of boss fight system, and just every single thing with combat can either be boss fights or wizard duels against other players or something like that. If I have to make the systems that way, then I will, but boy, that's going to be a lot of work. So let's do one last overview of what we've got so far. We've got a banking system with coins where you can withdraw and deposit specific amounts of coins. We've got fishing loosely working. We've got a system for that. We've got a system for breaking blocks and having different pickaxes that have different types of blocks that they're able to break. And we've got this island here that has plenty of space underneath it for a custom dungeon and mining system to be built under there. So we've got some pretty good stuff to work with. And of course, plenty of land on the surface for us to do foraging trees and building some fancy structures and things. Alright. Man, I really wish I could figure out a way to get proper PvP going. It would be so cool to have, like, the Coliseum back, even if it was unofficial. Hypixel Skyblock's Coliseum. Do any of you guys remember that? It's back when you could actually duel other players. I never even got to use it back when it was available. I wish I did. Alright, let's see. I mean, this would be kind of cursed, but I could have like the PvP work like a voodoo doll, but there would be no depth there because you'd just be clicking an NPC, and then that would translate to damaging the other player. I don't know. I feel like that wouldn't work very well either. You guys would just basically be standing there spamming an NPC. You wouldn't have to like move around or anything. And of course, if I just had like a special PvP sword that was the only sword that could do damage to people, I mean, that could work, but I don't think it would work very well. Like, unless I had items that just dramatically varied in the amount of damage that they did. Like, if one of the weapons was a wooden shovel, one of them was a wooden axe, one of them was a stone sword, one of them diamond sword, something like that. If they have wildly varying damage, maybe I'd be able to detect it. But even that would still be kind of janky with the different armor values. Alright, I'm afraid we're just going to have to settle for, like, making a turn-based combat system, and that'll take a while, so I'd have to do that one in a different stream. Let's see, is there anything else we can work on right now? I mean, we could get the actual mining blocks working themselves instead of just a basic system for it. And we could get the fishing loot set up, but I think that we ought to flesh out one system at a time. So let's see. I think next up is probably just finishing this upper area of the island. And I ought to ask around in the Hypixel forums and see if anybody has any possible solutions to my PvP problem. And if not, I'll just suggest a couple of features to the Skyblock team and see if they can just update Skyblock. Not update Skyblock, update housing to no longer limit me. Well, anyway, because of those unfortunate limitations, looks to me like we're going to have to go ahead and stop the stream here for now, because I'm not sure how to proceed. Got to do a lot of research. So thank you guys all for showing up to the stream. Make sure you subscribe. I'm going to hopefully get a lot of this edited down into a couple of videos that should be a lot easier to understand if I can. But for the time being, I think we're stuck at a little bit of an impasse. Because I feel like combat is one of the things that'll add a lot of depth, and it's going to take a lot of work to get a combat system that's actually fun to play. Alright. Well, I do still have a little bit of time. Just not quite enough to do all that research live. Especially since most of it will just be scrolling through random messages. So what do you guys think I should do while we're waiting on that for the rest of the time on this stream? I mean, if you all have any suggestions, I'm definitely open to them. Right now, honestly, the only way that you can take damage is just falling. So, I mean, as far as combat goes, maybe I could create some depth in this game through having like dungeons that have parkour in them, kind of like a Windcraft sort of thing. I know we're recreating Skyblock, but when you have systems that are this limited, maybe focusing on parkour is a reasonable approach to take. But I feel like there's some pretty cool things we can do with boss fights, because there's the regions, and you can make a system that'll randomly target different regions that people will take damage if they're standing in those regions. Unfortunately, I don't think there's ways to do like particle effects in those different areas, but man, I really hope Skyblock adds... I really hope Hypixel adds a bunch of new systems for that sort of thing. Let's actually investigate what we have to work with here. We can change things about the player, give or remove items, change global stats, teleport people, fail parkour, play sounds, compass target, that could be useful. Hunger level, not as useful. Open a menu. Yep. Okay. Well, I think as far as basic systems and things that won't take ages to do, we've hit the limit of what Hypixel's housing will allow me to do already. Of course, I guess beyond this point, it's just kind of fleshing things out. Deciding if we even really need health and mana at all anymore, since the combat system is going to be such a nightmare to work with. And I don't know. I'll do another stream about this once I have a little bit more direction. So I guess since I have not got any other ideas, at least for now, I suppose that'll be the end of the stream. Thank you guys very much for showing up. I appreciate it. If you want to make sure you're kept up to date on this project, make sure to join my Discord server. Feel free to ask about it if I forget about this somehow. And I'll try to make sure you guys know what's going on. Okay, thank you guys very much. I still haven't made a proper stream ending screen, so enjoy this while I close it up. Blow up Minecraft? That's crazy. I just noticed that my chat was frozen this entire time on my phone, so I didn't even see most of your messages. But yeah, see you later, guys.